Hey, what's up? I'm Al Cox. I make games, play games, and everything in between. And today we're gonna go over the game I made for the Buildbox Game Jam. And I made this game in 5 days while I was at the beach in Mexico. If you like this kind of content, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for more notifications as I try to create more content like this where I go through my game development process. I wasn't originally planning on participating in this game jam as I was in Mexico. Luckily with Buildbox, I was able to make what I thought was a pretty good game around the theme attraction. This video is going to be a little bit different than my other videos as I won't be going step by step on how to create a similar style game. If you would like to see that, please leave a comment below. For this video, I'm going to take you through all the things I went through from day 1, day 2, 3, 4, and 5, and show you how the development process works in my mind, the original idea I had, and what the final idea came to be, because I find often when I'm making a game, the game I have at the finish is not the game I thought I was going to make in the beginning. And that to me is part of the fun of all of it, considering the fact that I wasn't even planning to make this game, because I have like 3 other games I want to make. And yeah, I'll do those later. Let's get started on day 1 and the theme attraction. Game jams are a great way to push your skills, see what you can do, and have fun creating a game from idea to the finished product. For day 1, my goal was setting up the basics of the gameplay. The name of the game jam is attraction. I thought I would create a simple ball character that had minds that would follow him, and the primary goal was to just dodge the mines. And if you didn't dodge them, then the mine would kill you. This idea came very easy to me, and the biggest thing I could remember was watching a live stream with Zach during the summer. And in that live stream, Zach had created something just like that, where balls or characters would follow the main character. Remembering that, originally I tried to use the attraction node, and then I remembered the Buildbox Discord channel, which is a great resource for getting help, assistance, talking to other people about all kinds of things from nodes to export troubleshooting. So I came to the Buildbox channel, went to the community live streams, and I just started scrolling up. Oh, there's me. Then I found follow character example, downloaded this, opened it up, and I realized that Zach didn't use the attraction node at all. Instead, he used the gravitate node. Once I had that BB doc, I was able to set it up within minutes and was able to get a playable working version of the game mechanic that I want. Now the game mechanic is always kind of the most important piece, because if the game mechanic isn't fun, then the game is not going to be fun. After setting this up, getting it to work the way I wanted, with the mines following, I was like, great. Then I added a level complete node, added some fireworks with the trail that explodes with confetti. Let's take a quick look at the character. Now here you can see I have multiple different characters. Now the cool thing is that I've made multiple games in the past, so when you have a tool belt of things that you've made before, you can easily take specific items from Buildbox and export those objects, which is what I did. This is player from Ball Meets World. I just exported it, and then this is a sphere from a game I made called Rolling Balls, and I just took certain assets, nodes from these, and put them into my main character. Now the biggest thing here was, so here we can see random color for the character. This level selector, this is just our first piece for selecting level, trying to make a straight up hyper casual game. We can see the collide with enemy, debris explosion, a defeat, and these going to the event observer. And I have the UI screen set up, the game over screen, and level complete. Then I have the level complete cube, which is just this cube with a texture on it, and then the character is set up that if they were to collide with the level complete, it saves the level 1, and then the send node has the event name of boom. And then this is where I created, is actually a 3-piece for the confetti, where a rocket would spawn up with the trail. You can see it here, and then it will shoot up, and then this will actually create a rocket trail, and then this spawner would then repeat to create confetti. Now this is a 3-step process. This is all day 1. I think by day 5 I have it just to a 2-step process. The main goal here was to have a cool perspective of fireworks shooting up. That's what I was going for. We're at day 1, getting the job done, making it look simple, and then I think I went to the beach. Let's go ahead and take a look at day 2. Day 2 was all about setting up the level progress bar. I haven't set up a level progress bar in a while. I want to say at least 3 or 4 games ago, because it just wasn't necessary for the game type that I was making. And if I had to be honest with you, I was just kind of avoiding that because I wasn't sure how to do it. It's important to have a lot of things in your tool belt, but sometimes you don't immediately go to it because of the fear of how long it'll take to just set up everything up. I would say it took me about 2 hours to set it up, and this was all mainly done in the code. So here's the progress bar. Now this is a distance progress bar. You will see similar progress bars like this in some of the templates. All that's needed is to go into the progress bar, look at the script. I'll be honest with you, I have spent hours and hours trying to learn the code years ago. That's not my thing. And I remember how I had originally set this up like 9 months ago. It was something with moving one of these numbers around, manipulating this number, and then I found out that it's actually this number right here. And what's cool about this is 4.65. If you go to your level, you can see that I found the exact number to set it up so that it goes fully level complete when you get to the finish line. It's important to note here that I've created this level complete all at -100. So level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 all have the level complete at 100. And that correlates to the progress bar in this UI. On day 2, I wanted to create more levels. And I found that originally I had just wanted an open field for the mines, and then the mines would just come at the player. However, I instantly found a problem. The mines came and started moving no matter where the player was. So even the mines that you can't see in the back are moving towards the player. And now this is not what I wanted, and I spent a good amount of time trying to alter the physics, do if collide, if player comes nearby, multiple different things. And again, I think on, on day 2, let's look at the timestamps. Here I was working for an hour and then a couple more hours here. Whenever I struggle to figure out how to make something happen, I try to think of what is the most easiest, simplistic way to do it, because I can always refine it later. And what I decided was to just add an invisible tube so that when you play the game, these tubes keep the enemy balls in place. And you can see it right up there. Oops. You can see it up there. And then when the player gets close, the tubes move down, allowing the enemy mines to come at you. And yeah, this was great and worked the way I wanted it. But then I came to another problem, which was level 1, simple, great, but level 2, you can only have so many levels where it's all exactly the same, because then the player will get bored. So I started adding these little walls to just help make the levels a little bit more interesting. And that led me down the path of creating kind of like a maze for the player to go through to complete each level. Well, you can see here the confettis are just going crazy. The setup I have here isn't great or ideal, and I changed that again later when I have time to refine. Day 2, I just want to get things done. I want to get something done and then try to clean it up later down the line. And then this is level 3, and here we can see I'm starting to create the maze that will be for the player to go around, avoid the mines, and yeah, just adding a fun gameplay. Just like that. You can see that I've got the level progress to work, the save level progress, because when I die, I am beginning at the same level that I died at. that is done through right here. After you hit the level complete, this little node will save the level, and here this menu jump will jump you to the next level, or if it's a game over, it will cause you to restart. Now this took me about 2 hours, and my goal is the more I do it, the better. I'll just have these assets and be able to just throw them into Buildbox and create level progression faster in my games. Here you can also see I'm starting to play with the fog, because if you go down this way, it's a dead end and you have to move all the way back up. At this time, I've also been playing with the friction, the bounce for the player, and the walls to just give it that dynamic feel of almost like a slightly bouncy ball. In the debug mode, you can also see what I did with the mines is I made the collision shape bigger and extend to the tips. Not completely to the tips, but to the tips of the spikes on the mines. Otherwise, those spikes would be going into the ground, which is not what I was going for. Later, I will fix the fog so it's more exact. But yeah, I did this in about less than 5 hours, and again, I was in Mexico, so I just called it a day. I'll try to have particular goals for each day and then build upon those goals. If I'm tired or if I'm just kind of not into it, I'll make those goals easier so that I know that I can achieve those goals and take that momentum the next day and keep pushing forward. Second day in, I'm feeling pretty good about the game setup. Got the maze going, the tubes are working. That actually took a couple of different tries because sometimes you want to have the nodes within the character, other times you want to have the nodes on the object itself. I find the best way to get this answer is just through playtesting. That was the end of day 2. Now at the beginning of day 3, I'm just designing more levels, building out the levels, and let's go here before we added the buddy ball. As you can see, I'm building out these levels. Now when you're using the save level node, it's important to keep these sequential, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because that's how the JavaScript on the back end keeps track of what level you're on. Now I noticed a problem, which was, level 1. Here, let's take a look at level 1. Oh yeah, here, this is actually a trigger. This trigger, let's go into the trigger. I created multiple different tubes with multiple different triggers, and we can see it on the left side over here. So the trigger 1, oh, there's actually nothing here because it's within the character, I believe. So yeah, character 1, if the character collides with trigger 1, which has no 3D object and is a static object. I wonder even if I could change it to none, that's for another time. Would send down 1 to tube 1. And then this would receive, position the animation to move, and then remove. Later I just got rid of the position animation because again, I'm just building up basic building blocks of the game with the idea to refine down the line. Because I like to have a working prototype as soon as possible, and I don't necessarily think of the most efficient ways, but just the easiest way to create something, and then I actually work backwards to make it more efficient. And so here we can see this is trigger 1, tube 1, trigger 2, tube 2, and then everything just stays in place. See, I hit that trigger right there. This was also an intentional design because if you look at the very beginning of level 1, these two mines come down at the character, but then they collide with each other. Now that is not an accident. I did that on purpose to help the player get a visual understanding that if the mines collide with the other mines, that is going to help you complete each level. And then we can go up here. This is where the trigger 2 is, and you can see it move down, and the mine is now coming at the player. Here we can see I started playing a little bit more with the pastel pink background. Day 4 is where I'll begin to do color management, but day 3 is where I'm just playing with other color ideas, and I just use pink because pink is a very pastel-y color, and when it comes to hyper-casual games, I find that pastel colors usually work great. As you can see, I'm a master at this game because whenever you create a game, you are automatically a master at that game. I don't make the rules, that's just how it is. And I quickly noticed something I think is sometimes difficult for game developers to pick up on. The game is actually pretty difficult. This game, the first couple of levels are pretty easy, but then once you get moving, it becomes a difficult game. Now we're making hyper-casual games here. Hyper-casual games games are for the 15-year-old to the 65-year-old. While I'm a master gamer and or mobile gamer, your average player is just gonna get frustrated and die. I wasn't sure what to do here, and I just kept playing the game over and over and over again. And when faced with certain difficulties, I like to think of the former emperor of Rome, Marcus Aurelius, who said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." What stood in my way was that the player kept dying and I needed a way to protect him. Meanwhile, the gameplay itself of just moving the ball around kind of gets boring. So the difficulty is the game gets boring and it's kind of difficult, which is not what you want for a hyper-casual game. The game is supposed to be fun when you dodge the mine, and it is for a little bit for the first couple of levels, but then it just gets too difficult. Now, having played countless number of games, it occurred to me, why not add a buddy character to this game? And that buddy would also be a dynamic ball, but indestructible. And that was pretty straightforward to do. I just created another sphere, set it to random color, and made it dynamic, affected all assets, and had it so that if an enemy touched the buddy, let's go to the enemy, and then if enemy collides with buddy, debris explosion. If enemy collides with enemy, debris explosion, and remove. And here we can see the gravitate node that is used. I just set the strength to 1, and I immediately found when playing the game like this, here we can see the buddy is a little bit smaller than he is in the final product. It actually added a whole new level of attention and a dynamic gameplay that was exponentially more fun than just the main character itself. While the first couple of levels, that buddy is not needed. When you get to a more difficult level, here, let's jump to level 9. You can see how much more engaging this type of gameplay is than just having a single character. And you need to keep track of the little buddy, because if he goes away, then you have a higher chance of dying. And, at the end of day 3, I was just ecstatic with this because I thought I had a great idea before. But now with this, oh, see, now he's gone. But now with this little buddy, just adding a whole new dimension to this game, making it easier. And you're always watching the little buddy because you need him. And this helped solve the major problems I had found in the first couple of days of making this game, which was that it was just becoming a little bit too difficult. Now here at the end of day 3, it's still kind of difficult, but later I'll go and make the buddy bigger, which makes the game easier. The reason this is saved at 11:20 was because at night my brother was asking me about the game I was working on, and I told him about the buddy dude in the minefield, and he said it sounded like a great idea and he wanted to play it. But I, so happy with my success, already took a break and didn't send it to the App Store Connect to be able to test on my phone. So that's what I was doing at 11:30 at night. Took about 5 minutes, and then I was playing a workable version on my phone. There was a lot of lag. Here we can see I actually added the Smart Penguins frames per second widget up here, right there, and that's within the UI. And whenever you're making a game, always add this. The game actually plays at a slower frame rate than I would prefer, but I didn't have a week or so of polishing that I usually take when making a game. Okay, so that was the end of day 3. So let's go ahead and jump to day 4. Day 4, color management. So day 4, we can see I set up the frames per second, and then for 3 hours I try to set up the color management. Now what I mean by color management is having the walls be a certain color, having the background be a certain color. Here we can see I was playing with the color blue and different background colors. I created an entirely separate object for this called color management to set a random node and set up the background colors for teal, blue, yellow, purple, and red. Now I just picked this palette off of a website, but it's your basic rainbow color palette that to me, is a little bit pastel. Could be a little bit more pastel. This pink is not so pastel, but I thought it looked great in the fog. And then I also adjusted the fog. Here you can see the fog start distance at 1750, which is right about here, and then the end distance is about 2000, which is over here, and that has it so you cannot actually see these balls in the background. Here, watch. So you can see these two, and then this setup right there has your buddy protecting you from the mine, and then the two mines colliding with each other. giving the player instant feedback and knowledge of the mechanics of this world, that this buddy ball can be used to collide into mines. I played with adding clouds, but I just didn't like it. And these clouds are actually from my asteroid game. I just made them white, floated them up in the air, and made them transparent. It's always good to have a tool belt of things you've made before, and then just see if you can apply certain things into your present game. So I spent 3 hours on this, trying to set up the color management, and as you can see, the wall and the ground is white. That is not what I want, and I couldn't get it to work. I spent 3 hours, got frustrated, and just called it a day, because I know certain times when I get frustrated, it's hard to come back from that, and I'll just call it a day and then just wake up early the next day, because in my mind, every problem has a solution. The biggest variable is time. How much time do you put into trying to figure out your solution for the problem and get it to work the way you want to? I find the mistakes and failures you make along the way are as important as your successes in developing the game you want, because you learn a lot more from your failures, mainly because you don't want to do it again. That being said, failures, mistakes, is part of the learning process. And if you can learn and become resilient to that, then your ability to push through and troubleshoot will become better and better over time. And that's really the biggest, greatest thing you can gain from your mistakes and the frustrations you have when trying to learn. The important part is to take a break, especially when you're extra frustrated. Anyways, on day 4, I found a lot of ways that the color management didn't work. Here, I just started copying these levels over and over again. We can see them from here. I just started copying them. Copy. And the idea here is that if I just make a bunch of blank templates, that I'll go in and put something down later, have future me work on something cool, because present me is frustrated and needs a break. That being said, I only created 10 levels for this game jam. Time is always limited, especially when you're at the beach. Day 5, I started around noon and I ended around 5 o'clock. So a good 5 hours. And let's go into here. This is where I did a lot of polishing. I finally got the color management set up. I'll go over that in a second. And I also created the app icon here. And when I create the app icon, I literally just duplicate the world. I go in, I change the camera angle, and then I just kind of screenshot everything and try to find a good icon. And this is what I ended up coming up with. Looks good for me. At this point, we're already on day 5, and I actually have a pretty good tan going. So the color management, the great thing was I had already done this before, again, with my game Ball Meets World. I think I have like 4 different colors in my color palette. I noticed that what I didn't have set up correctly here was the if collide walls. On day 4, I just completely forgot about this, and this is actually really important. Here you can see it, and it takes up the whole level. So whenever the player begins on any of these levels, now the color management tool has no physics. Oh, there it is. See, no physics, and it's not even connected. And I can actually even delete this, and then you can see with more clarity. There it is right there. The outline. Not sure if you can see that. This start loads every single time, whether it's level 1 or level 8. All of this loads the player, the buddy, the color management tool, and I even dragged in some basic text that are 3D text, and I just floated them in the air so that every time it loads, you get this cool effect. And then I also went in and I just added some rotating coins that you can collect while playing the game and trying to complete the level. At the same time, I ended up creating 11 levels, not 10. And here we can see this is where they're at. This is how they look. These are the separate triggers that cause the tubes to get out of the way when the player comes by. And let's take a look at that. Got my frame rates. Again, always test everything on your phone, because the phone is the true indicator of how, oh, and I lost my buddy, so, which makes the game harder. See, there's a little bit of bounce. Look at the coins. Nice. Whenever you whenever you are playing on debug mode, the frame rate is always slower because it's showing you all this additional information that you don't typically see in a game. Now, after all this, I was just extremely happy with this game idea concept that kind of came fluidly because I was having difficulty playing the game that I created without the buddy ball. I set up the fog to be the same color as the player and have the buddy ball be a separate color, and you can see every time I reload it's a different color scheme. This is not set up by code, this is all done manually with the node system right here. And we got send red and send teal character. So this is for the character, and then this one is for the buddy. And then finally I put the game on my phone and I just played the game for about 5 minutes. Recorded all my gameplay, took that screen recording, put it into Final Cut Pro, and cut out my favorite pieces where I thought it did a great job just highlighting how to play the game and kind of the fun dynamic movement you have with the buddy ball while trying to avoid the mines getting to the finish level. That is me making a game quickly in 5 days while I'm on vacation. This is not a step-by-step video on how to recreate this. If you would like to see something like that, please let me know. Leave a comment below. I'm trying where I just take you day by day. I think this helps highlight the thought process that goes from 1 day to 2 days and how a game actually gets built and created and new ideas come along that you didn't have at the very beginning. And that's what I love most about creating a game, is that you don't know what you're gonna get until you get there. And that's how I see life, that's how I see making games, and along the way you pick up all these little tips and tricks that you can then save for your next game. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed me going through this process. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on my next game. Peace.